Hello viewers and welcome back to Let's Read Fault Milestone 1. Just some random bad news. My headphones just broke this morning, which sucks, which means I have to buy new ones. But I mean, it shouldn't affect streaming since I don't even use the headphone mic, but now I have to use these stupid earbuds. And so the sound might actually be different since they don't really have volume control, so sorry if it's a little too loud on this sound anyways, but yeah, I just have to buy new headphones. I don't know, maybe when I buy them they'll actually have a mic that works with OBS, and I'll be able, maybe our mic quality will go up. So in the next couple videos. But yeah, that's just random bad news for me. What happened last time in Fault? We interviewed Albus and he confirmed Rune was a robot. Rune or Sarah. I guess her name technically is Sarah since it's a robot and it's not Rune. So we'll just call her Sarah unless she wants to be called Rune in the future. Yeah, we used some mind dive technique from Sophine. The royalty exclusive technique. And now I think Albus is showing us Sid's past. So we got a little blurb about Sid at the end of the last video. Talked about how his father was obsessed with mana and he was using some scammer techniques to gain the mana, and eventually ran out on the family. And I guess Sid inherited that that love for mana, but he's, instead of, just scamming people or using some scummy tactics, he wants to create a sustainable thing, which will obviously lead to the Zavitz company, which was extremely profitable. So good for Sid. So yeah, let's just get into, well, I don't know if it's kid Sid, I guess not, it's adult, or young adult Sid. Owie! Whew. The foreman's in a pretty bad mood today too. I knew this was gonna be some hard work, but I tell ya, being a coal mine worker ain't something a human ought to do. It barely pays enough just to put food on the table too. Ah, my joints are all screaming in pain. Still, we ought to consider ourselves lucky to even have work. It looks like this year's winter is going to be incredibly cold as well. Well, at least it's freaking hot while we're working. I'd rather be moving around and working than just sitting around in school all day. It's way more fulfilling. Who the heck would want to waste their childhood in a dump like that? Not me, that's for sure. You have a point there. Oh right, Albus, let me show you something really cool. What? Is that? That's right, it's sediment. There's not a lot of it, but there's definitely a little bit of colored mana inside. Where did you even? Well, we were mining. The coal mine might actually be a mana mine. What have you done, Sid? Don't tell me. You're going to sell that? No way, that's dirty money. They'll find you and throw you in prison. Oh, don't be stupid. Let's could sell such a valuable sample. Sample? Actually, this isn't the first sample I found. The first one I found was smaller than a pea. But the deeper I dug, the sediment just kept getting bigger and bigger. Also, it's weird with just another random note. While using earbuds, my voice sounds really different to myself. It probably doesn't sound different to you people, except that I still kind of have a cold, but yeah, it's just awkward. I'll probably have to go buy one tomorrow or the day after. Unlucky. As per usual. You've been sneaking out sediment for that long? Look, just listen to what I have to say first, okay? I made a perfectly interesting discovery. Come to my laboratory later. Laboratory? You mean your house, right? Oh, come on, the name's pretty important, okay? If I said my place, it wouldn't get you fired up. I'm struggling to understand your logic here. Look, just pay me a visit, alright? Besides, we could just head straight there, couldn't we? Oh, well, I suppose we could, but... Today's the day when my mom, you know? I thought I'd leave her a flower or two. Oh yeah, his mom died. They were trying to, him and Elvis were trying to support her with the father gone, but she died in a couple of years, I think, because she was sick. I see. It's already been that long, huh? Anyways, just meet me at my laboratory. See you there. Fast forward to a few years later. We began to immerse ourselves in colored mana purification research. We conducted all sorts of absurd experiments. Sid loved high-risk experiments, a trait he may have inherited from his father. On one occasion, he suffered mana shock and ended up being unable to move his left arm. As I continued to support Sid, we both spent our adolescent years in mana research. Every day, every single day of it. We toiled as if possessed by the gods of mana themselves. After countless failures, we finally succeeded. But finally, we were able to purify colored mana. This isn't self-praise or exaggeration. It truly was the discovery of the century. The news quickly spread throughout the entire outer pole. Then one day we began to look for investors who were willing to commercialize the mana system. Back to their adult sprites from Rudo's flashback. Why? Tell me, just what was all that hard work for then? What exactly are we going to do if we don't look for investors? The conversion efficiency with just this filter isn't good enough. If the sediment has low mana concentration, then that means that isn't going to be enough energy. Just how much time do you think it takes to convert enough energy to match a candle that lasts burning for 2-3 hours? At this point, mining coals is more efficient. Well, of course, our research is just in its initial stages, so if we continue our line of research, then... By the way, have you heard of electricity before? Electricity? Oh, you're talking about the person in the third sector who's trying to control the energy from lightning? That's right. But from what I hear, that technology is still in its infancy. And not only that, it's quite dangerous. According to the opinion of the Board of Science, it probably won't see any widespread use anytime soon. The opinion of those idiots over at the board ain't worth their salt. If mana didn't actually exist, then I sure as heck be looking into electricity too. Besides, if we're talking danger here, mana's just as guilty. Heck, it might be that mana's way more dangerous than electricity. For these guys, yeah. What would make you say that? My left arm's been acting up again lately. Does it still hurt? Nah, not exactly. Oh, excuse me. I'm gonna sneeze. Mute. Alright, we're clear. It feels like... I don't know. It's weird. Like it's slowly being eaten away by something. What in the... Has it been that way since you were able to move it? No, just recently. I didn't say anything at first because it didn't really get in the way of work, but it's been hard to ignore lately. I wonder what's causing it. No clue. But for one thing's for sure, there's still a whole lot of unknowns we've yet to discover about mana. As a result of further research, we succeeded in generating a stable, usable amount of mana. In the meantime, we managed to meet willing investors who were interested in our work, despite our youth. We sure got lucky, I commented, but Sid said, no, we made this happen in response. He was the type who hated any fatalistic mindsets. A few years later, everything was going smoothly. Thanks to the investors, Zevit's enterprise was established without a hitch. At the same time of founding, Sid married the girl from a neighboring town who had entered the company. Her name was Elaine Crossrow. She had unnaturally beautiful emerald eyes and pearly white skin. Outspoken and imbued with a strong sense of justice. However, she had been born with a weak constitution, much like Sid's mother. Elaine's wish was to benefit other people in the world. She was the type of person who could change the atmosphere just by looking there. No matter how rebellious or contrarian someone is, they would immediately become docile and obedient when faced with her. One couldn't help but think of her as a good person. Regardless of logic or reason, she was a simple, truly lovable human being. There wasn't anyone who wouldn't be inspired by her zeal. Train. I hear it, kind of. I actually think my last recording of Higurashi didn't have any trains, which is like the first in the history of the channel. I don't know, just something to note. As Zevitz grew in power, so did its profits and efficiency, as it continued to devote itself to the greater good. It didn't reach its peak efficiency, but when winter came, it managed to cut casualties down to less than half. The companies continued to gain influence. As we continued to grow in fame and fortune, Rudo was born. Rudo, he was truly a brilliant child. Having inherited both Elaine's kindness and his father's wisdom, Rudo was truly a good person. We lived our days in happiness. At the time, we hadn't realized, somewhere unbeknownst to us, we had created a great and powerful enemy. Hey, Sid, Elaine, have you heard about Hyvis? That's a new entry. Oh, that's, okay, so he's a lightning guy, but they did mention him before a lot later. He's like the opposing energy guy who's taking mana out of the air, I think, instead of the mines. That company of that idiot who tried to control lightning, right? Of course I have. Oh. I have too, and none of it's any good. The filter they're using, that's the one that Sid designed. Shouldn't we do something about them? Who cares? Honestly, I don't even know what they're trying to do with those old relics of filters. But that clearly means he's painting a target on your back. He must be bitter that you ruined his plan for electricity. Ha! That bastard can do whatever the hell he wants to. He failed to make electricity succeed. He's got a grudge against us, and now he's sticking his neck into the mana industry. And to top it all off, he uses the product that his rival designed to start his own company. He sure has guts, I'll give him that. That kind of audacity sure reminds me of a certain someone. Huh? Don't be stupid. I wouldn't do anything like that. He's got no vision. Touche? Or touchy? I think that's touche, right? But you have a point. What does he hope to accomplish by using those filters? That's a losing strategy when going up against us. Well, who knows? We're up against someone who's trying to use his enemy's ideas against him and live. You'd be surprised how tough a nutjob like that is to take down. What's wrong, Aline? You're looking pretty pale. I have a bad feeling about all this. How come? It's just everything has been going so smoothly for all of us. Something's got to happen sooner or later. I don't know. Just looking at Aline makes me sad because she died so tragically. Well, it doesn't really say how she died, but it's still pretty sad, all the rune stuff. Hey now, you're talking about karma. We ain't done a single awful thing to anyone. Why do you think we need to pay back for all the happiness we've been experiencing so far? I suppose so. A few years later, Rune was born. With almost inexplicable timing, Hyvitz experienced an explosion of growth. Damn, Rune's literally like just bad omens incarnated. Bad karma. Just everything bad happens with Rune, huh? Despite being of no competition in terms of both experience with mana and the underlying technologies, they managed to one-up us. One-up us in terms of business acumen. Their expansion was absolutely unprecedented. No one was able to anticipate that Hyvitz should gain enough power to compete with Zevitz in just a few short years. Mana is likely to become a highly dangerous substance to us residents of the Outer Pole, just had it been to Sid when his left arm was affected. Make one mistake and you could lose your life. Sid knew that well. Because enough investors for the company were secured, Sid was able to prioritize development of medical treatments when Zevit's enterprise was first established. Aline spearheaded the charge, having Zevitz assemble every skilled doctor around and founded Zevitz Medica. People had to undergo proper training to handle mana as part of their work in Zevitz. Zevitz dedicated its resources to educating and training its employees. However, it takes time to develop competent mana miners and sediment handlers. Regardless, developing skilled, educated personnel and providing a safe work environment were top priority. On the other hand, Hyve's strategy was completely to ignore all safety protocols and exploit the poor economic situation. Damn. Scummy. Hyve's strategy, Process 1, it's a drug extracted from mana, creating humans who could continue to work without sleep or rest, and who could produce antibodies that could combat mana. Well, the second part's kind of good. Furthermore, the subjects of the drug were promised lifetime employment. Well, lifetime employment, but it sounds like they're not gonna live a long life. Immunity to low-level mana shock and superhuman strength. Hyve's poured its efforts into marketing itself as an entity that could grant these kind of abilities, serving to excite its subjects all the more. The masses ate up Hyve's hyperbole-filled slogans. It was a devious strategy that resonated with everyone at a time when employment was at an all-time low. Ellipses. Hey, that was just too much. Yeah. The after effects on the subjects, I can't believe they're that horrible. Completely losing it because of insomnia. Turning into nothing but skin and bones. Bodies rotting away due to partial mana shock. The Abbey was filled with victims of Hyve's operations. Is there no, like, board of safety or whatever? Or ministers of safety that can put these guys down? Guess not. Some patients even had to be carried off to a church in the neighboring town. I know. And Sid, we have another problem. I brought Elaine and the Medica's chief over to the Friars to propose a construction of a general hospital under Zevitz, but they gave you this Shinkai? Yes. Or rather, we were assailed with some rather unbecoming speech. It was because of people like us that the god of mana was angered, causing these victims in the first place. This was divine retribution for being blinded by our greed and desire for convenience. Damn, I can't exactly tell whether or not the priest was right. But this isn't the time for that. I believe we need to pursue the medical project even more now. Why doesn't the government just outlaw the human testing of Process 1? Agreed. That would solve the problem altogether. I'm sure that if the Board of Science would just do something, then the government would. I doubt that. Why? People are dying here. The technology to create Process 1 from mana was developed on the Outer Pole. Only those who have been trained can make it, and of course you need to use machinery that's only available on the Outer Pole. So, here's my take on the whole situation. The government, the Board of Science, and Hivitz are all in cahoots, secretly exporting Process One. What? Why would they do that? I don't know. I guess if they give them temporary super strength, then they could be like, train them as soldiers or something. Or you can use it as an opposite thing and use it as like poisonous gas or whatever. Basically use it for war. It's probably the answer. First possible use for it that comes to mind is the same thing that Hivitz does for their workers. Drugs to dope up crafters. Yeah, that's what I thought. Good job, Sid. Performance enhancement for armies, or maybe they found ways to weaponize the stuff. Exactly. Well, it's still a pretty new substance. Depending on where the research goes, they could find all sorts of uses for it. No. Well, not that I have any proof or anything. It's all just a guess. It's a pretty good guess. I agree, Sid. Scummy government. Sid, the worse your predictions get, the more likely they are to be true. Anyway, putting that aside, let's get back on track. Like Elvis said, I don't plan to give up on getting that hospital set up. But Sid, a vast majority of those patients would rather seek salvation from the church than medical attention from a hospital. I'm sure they tried to get into an overcrowded abbey than a newly built hospital. And if that isn't possible, they just resign themselves to death. Do people hate us that much? That can't be. We didn't do anything for people to hate us that much, right? I suppose the average layman, there isn't much difference between Hivitz and us. In any case, I don't see any real point in constructing a hospital with the way things are going now. Damn, what do we do then? Well, Sid, I have a plan. What you said about the government and Hivitz earlier got me thinking. Why don't we just make the church allies with Hivitz? Ellipses. Huh? Financial backing is a given. We renovate their facilities, get them new equipment, maybe even build a new abbey altogether. Then we name the hospital after the church and put it under their management. But in exchange, the actual hospital's operations will remain under Hivitz Medica. What about that? What? As they say, not saying that? They will reign, but not govern. Wait, just a minute here. This entire thing's gotten so huge, I don't even know where to begin. Besides, they clearly hate us. What makes you think they'd even want to work with us? I have a good idea. An idea? I heard that quite a number of sisters passed away the other day due to a contagious form of mana shock. There were some who put their lives on the line trying to subdue the patients who had grown violent and unstable. They tried to quell some men who were many times stronger than they were, muscles swollen from doping effects, with love as their only weapon. Anyway, they did absolutely everything in their power to provide their utmost care for the patients. Sid, we should dedicate our next project on absolute obedience automa to the sisters. And rather than models specifically made for the mana minds, we should focus on creating humanoid models to help support the sisters. That way they can protect the sisters from any contagious forms of mana shock, or any patients who get too violent. Helene! That's where the name the Sisters Project is from, right? That's quite an ambitious plan. But it might actually work out. I'll pass a proposal to our mechanical engineer partners about this. There's sort of a poetic justice to all this. For people like us who make a living of science, probably the least theistic thing there is to be saved by religion. Like, we have to pay attention to the little details like that. We have to focus on caring for the patients, minimizing the victims. A few days later, we headed to the church. Oh, we got a sprite for the priest. Father, we are indebted for being allowed an audience today. But of course, anything for the famous president of Zevitz Enterprise, who the church so despises. Now what is it? Mr. Sid Zevitz, what is it that you and your organization needs of us? My wife told me about your circumstances here the other day. I've heard that many of the sisters here had become victims of the subjects they were trying to save. This is the unfortunate truth. This is a state of affairs was brought by the competition between you and Hives. By playing with mana, you treat the blessing of God like mere toys. Do you understand that is blasphemy? Do you have anything to say as a fool who chose to ignore their faith and blindly pursue science until its bitter end? I have no words to offer in my defense, but we at Zevitz had no intention of giving up. Even if Zevitz Enterprise were to abandon this mana race and let Hives win, that won't put a stop to the victims. I can confidently say that we were on the side of good here. We conduct our business with the highest moral and ethical standards. To me, the nature of your business and Hives is one and the same. I'm well aware of that. However, I want you to understand that we will not back down against Hives. We have our own beliefs to adhere to. Why do you continue to rebel against God like this? It is God's will that we must simply accept, so we can carry out His divine plan. Is it that difficult to simply accept what has been given to you and live a life within your means? Science is nothing but the height of folly. It is proof that you are ungrateful of the blessings and the life that you have received. Sure, that might be the case for you, but let me tell you this, Father. As long as we humans have a thing called curiosity, the march of science will never stop. We just had to find out about the hidden possibilities of mana. No, it's not just about mana. You tell a human being to live in this world without trying to satisfy their curiosity? That's just plain impossible. And curiosity is another one of those gifts that your God gave us humans, isn't it? Blasphemy. Did you want to meet with me face to face simply to lecture me on God and human nature? No, we came here because we like to pitch something. Pitch? What could this be now? We're currently developing machines to assist with work in the mines. They'll be powered by mana, be able to understand what we have to do, and can carry out those commands. What in the... However, we decided to stop work on that. Instead, we've decided to devote our time to creating machines who provide support to the sisters of the church. And why exactly would you do that? Father, do you want to work with us at Zevitz? I beg your pardon? Right now, even if you build a general hospital in town, there would be far more people who would seek help from the church. But Father, that just isn't gonna work out. Sorry to say, but what you're doing isn't gonna save a single life. The only way to save people who are dying from mana is with mana itself. We have completely different values, but I'm sure that we share the same fundamental desire to save as many people as we possibly can. Please, let us work with you. I'm sure your patients wouldn't have any problems if you had them go to the hospital that has your blessing. I see. And there, we're gonna have our machines take the place of the sisters instead. We've already partnered with an engineering company to make sure that they look perfectly human. They'll just have as much humanity as we do. If you let the machines deal with any dangerous patients, then I'm sure you can prevent any sisters from losing their lives. This Sisters Project is our way of showing our sincerity in this proposition. Please, won't you consider? I see how it is. Truly a suggestion that could only have been put forth by someone so entrapped in worldly desires such as yourself. A suggestion that completely and utterly ignores the demands of our church. Well, No, that's enough. This is no longer something we can discuss. However, you wish to save as many as you can, correct? Your sentiment reeks of arrogance and lack of concern for the souls of the deceased, but very well. I can understand your reasoning. We're very grateful for it. However, we cannot accept those machines of yours. Why not? Don't you want to prevent any more of the Abbey sisters from becoming victims? Of course I want to put a stop to the victims, and I wish to save as many people as we can. However, these patients have all come here seeking salvation from God. Although I suppose you atheist heathens wouldn't understand. No matter how well they can mimic human behavior, like how a hymn sung without a heart won't heal. Prayer from something without a soul will not save anyone. My earphones fell out. Ellipses stare down. Was Sid just silenced by a member of the clergy? Still, for such non-believers to save lives in the name of the church, your convictions have come through. I will need some time. What? Oh my. The mind sync was cut? The connection just... Oh no. Sorry, I'll get it patched up now. My lady. More importantly, how is your condition? Well... Oh, I mean by how do you feel? Yeah. No, what I mean is, this is such a pain. This is the first time I've had so much difficulty connecting a dive right. Is that case that much different than usual? There has to be just the right amount of pressure from external mana so that the internal mana can stabilize. Being able to refine mana consistently is quite a difficult feat. Even though we look to be the same people, it's amazing how differently our bodies can function. It's like we're completely different species. I beg to disagree. It all boils down to the presence or absence of mana. If we were to stay here too long, then our mana systems would have ended up deteriorating, and we would end up with the same physicality as you. Elvis, you and we are just the same human beings. I see. If I may, about the memory just now, you referred to the church. Does that mean there are also mana-related religions in the Outer Pole? There certainly are. In fact, that's why a company like ours was able to grow so much, despite being anything but religious. It is thanks to Eileen's idea that we partnered with the church. So it did work out, yay. Even in the Outer Pole, there are plenty of people who seek help from the god of mana. I never knew. The owner of the pawn shop said that the god of mana had forsaken this land, which is what led to the development of science. That's pretty accurate. Even though our principles and religion contradict each other, they can still coexist with each other. When it all boils down to it, us humans need something to believe in. Even if it's a god who abandoned us. I had thought this was a land with nothing but self-serving individuals, but that wasn't the case. Sid and Eileen have such strong sense of duty and concern. Those two are truly amazing. There's so much I can learn from such wonderful people. Agreed. I was fixated on working on simply conducting research, but those two, they were always wholeheartedly directing their efforts into making the Outer Pole a better place. I was often reminded of the difference in our personalities when they were still around. What do you mean? I had heard that Sid had already moved on to the next world, but has his wife Aline also passed on as well? Yes, several weeks after Rune died, she has also passed away. You see, Aline was killed by Rune. She laced the tea Aline had always drank with Process One before it was refined into a drug. What? She was killed by her own flesh and blood daughter? I can't believe it. Rune often frequented Zavit's labs, had actually snuck and stole Process One that was kept for research purposes. She had taken enough to kill 10 adults, directors and executives of companies from the outer pole regions who were all later to merge with Zavit's were later found dead, poisoned. Rune then committed suicide after. I don't know. The way they bring this back up, obviously to tell these ends, but it also kind of just raises suspicions. Like, what if this was like a whole cover up? And it was like someone from Hivitz that did all this. But that doesn't even make sense, right? Because then how would Ellie get poisoned? I don't know. I'll keep a slightly open mind, but it's probably true that Rune did it all. Then to that one incident, our dream, Sid's, Aline's, and mine. A dream to expand Zavich throughout the other pole was completely scrapped. I was at a sincere loss for words. Just what could possibly have driven Rune to do all that? At just 10 years of age, we had heard that she was a problem child of sorts. No, this is far beyond that. The devil's spawn. She certainly does live up to that nickname. What was her motive? There must have been something that pushed her to do that, right? We couldn't find anything like that. Rune had an abnormality in the brain, you see. A portion of her brain wasn't working. Even if she was able to understand emotions like happiness, sadness, and anger, she couldn't feel them herself. She didn't feel fear or guilt, nor was she able to develop a sense of compassion, aka a psychopath. But could someone have developed such destructive tendencies simply because of a lack of emotion? I don't know. Maybe Rune was special, but at this point there's no way for us to find out. Sorry to interrupt, but I finished the connection. Are you alright, Sophie? You're looking a little pale there. Yes. Do we continue from earlier? Yes. Alright. Here on, it'll be about Zavitz's siblings. Now I have to warn you, it's going to be rather disturbing. Are you sure you want to keep going? We are. Well, I don't know if I want to keep going. What's the time at? 37? Pretty good. Almost 40-minute videos. But yeah, I think we'll wrap up there. That's pretty interesting. To see Sid's backstory. I mean, we're getting pretty far into this novel. I feel like the rest of it gonna be this whole situation with Sarah and Rune, and we're not actually gonna get to travel back? But there's like a bunch of games of this. I think there's a sequel and a sequel coming out this year, I think. And there's a prequel, so there's a lot, I guess. They have a lot of time. Anyways, thanks for watching. This was cool. Learning more about Sid. And how Zavitz basically grew to its size now. But yeah, hope you enjoyed, and if you're interested in this series, this should be the Tuesday episode, so it's Tuesday and Thursdays, so make sure to check in then. Thank you for watching as always, and have a nice day.